I want to talk to you about building community with people who are outside of your circle, people who you do not normally come into contact with, but who are part of humanity with you and have much to offer you, much that you can learn from and much you can teach them. I'm going to be telling you a story where you're going to see a lot of inconsistencies and you're going to see perhaps even some hypocrisy in what I'm talking about. Because the path is a difficult one, to build community with people who are outside of your circle. And although this is a story I'm telling, I have stumbled along this path. So I hope you will understand that as you hear what I'm going to tell you, that there are many exceptions to what I'm going to be saying. I came to want to be on that path of knowing how to build community outside of my circle because I spent several years in the Congo. It was in the jungle part of the Congo. I was a nutritionist at that time, and I was working with starving children. I was going around to the villages in the area and finding children who were on death's doorstep and bringing them into a program where we would nourish them back to health. My staff, the people that I worked with, were all Africans, and it was some of the most rewarding years that I had spent. When I came back to America, I found that the images that people had of Africans were very different from the images that I had of Africa. And I wanted to somehow help them reach beyond what they were imagining, to be able to be in relationship and to have a different kind of experience than what they were constantly talking about. I found that there were 3 ways of building community with people outside of your circle. 3 that I have seen often and have experienced myself. 2 that build false community. 1 that builds true community. The first of them that builds false community is photography and film. Now, we watch films because we want to understand, we want to grow, we want to learn, and the filmmakers are often making films for that purpose. These films here are ones that portray a certain kind of Africa. These are not the only films of Africa. There are others that are good. But predominantly the ones that hit the mass markets are the ones that portray a particular image that set a certain stereotype. And we get entrenched in that stereotype of seeing Africa as a place that is tragic, as a place that must be fixed, as a place that must be pitied. There are also photos that appear in our newspapers. This one is quite famous. Many of you may have seen this. And the image here of a child being watched by a vulture, this is in Sudan, is a metaphor for Africa. It's like the child is Africa and the vulture is the evils that are just waiting to devour a whole continent. It's a powerful, powerful image. And it has power over us in reinforcing our image of what Africa is. This other photo here, a bit more plain, a bit more common, is one that is taken from a program that I have worked with. And here we see children who are standing in line to get food after there's been a crisis, and food relief is there. But here again, even though this is meant to raise awareness, even though it is meant to bring in funds, one hopes, to support this food program, you can see that we are higher than these children, so we are adults over them. You can see the pleading eyes looking up and the plate being held out that says, I need you to give to me. I need you to be strong. It stands in contrast to a photo like this. This is one I took on another of my trips. This is a photo where the African is the strong person. The African is the adult. The African is happy, is nurturing a white person, nurturing a child. So this is something that we don't often see. It's the strength in the other, where we get to be comforted by, to be encouraged by another person. Well, this somewhat hazy photograph was a shoot-off I had with a friend of mine. We were both, obviously, if I've got a picture of her, she's got one of me that is exactly the same. And this is the daughter of a friend of mine in Nairobi. I have this picture because I want you to experience what it's like to be on the other side of a camera. We have all been there. But in addition to the professional photography that I've just shown a minute ago, there is also the casual photography that we do that creates distances. We take these photographs because we want to understand, because we want to capture, because we want to share. And let me just say that I do this. I travel with a camera. I do take photos. But what happens when you swing a camera up to your face is, first of all, the face disappears. The opportunity to talk disappears. The opportunity to even converse is often put aside. And one person becomes in control of a situation with this big machine in front of his or her face, and the other person becomes the objective, the object in that experience. When I travel, I will sometimes take groups of people with me, and I will tell them at times, put the cameras away. This is a time to be fully present and just put it away. You're going to see things that you wish you could remember and save forever, but you're just going to have mental images of these, not photographs. Because with the camera up in front of your face, you're going to create distances that cannot be overcome. You want to be in a place where you can have face-to-face contact with people. Well, so photography is one way that builds false community. Charity is another. Charity is another way of being the strong person and freezing relationships of strong and weak, of giver and receiver. Now, here again, I need to confess that I have been involved in a lot of charity. And when you write charity large, it becomes development. The organization I work for, Measure Evaluation, is involved in measuring and evaluating development efforts around AIDS. So I'm very much involved in that world. But I can tell you that that world does not develop true community. It does some things. It will help stem the tide of AIDS. It will bring water. But it doesn't develop community. It freezes people in this giver and receiver relationship. Notice also in this poster here that the help is outside of Africa. It is something that's going to be coming into Africa. It's not from within. So it creates in us these pictures of how we are to relate that don't build true community. And here is a website. I have blocked off the names because there are many child sponsorship organizations. I don't want to pick a fight with any of them. And I will tell you that my wife and I support a child, not through this one, but I will also tell you that child support, a very popular way of interacting with Africa, does not build community. The child that my wife and I support, we have had the pleasure of meeting him because we have the pleasure of traveling to Africa. We have communicated with him by letters, but the connection is very remote. We are very clearly the giver. He is very clearly the receiver. We don't have a real genuine relationship. Notice also how my previous point about photography creeps in here, because you see the child with the pleading eyes, that you are the answer to my need. Well, the third way of connecting with people in Africa that builds true community is conversation. Now, here is a conversation that we're going to come back to in a second, but I want to take you through, as Ted just did a minute ago, a brief mind experiment. I want you to imagine that you have just had something really good happen in your life, or something really bad. It could be either one, something you care about a lot. Now imagine, who are you going to tell that? Who are you sharing that with? If you are lucky, you've got one of those people in your life that you most want to go to, and you want to spend some time with them and tell them about this experience. Why is that? What are the characteristics of that person? It's likely that that's a person who listens well. It's likely that that person doesn't just listen, but interacts with you and asks questions, that encourages you and say, no, you're not as bad as they say you are. Or, that's the most fantastic thing I've ever heard. But they don't just flatter. They don't just tell you what they think you need to hear. If you're really lucky, you have a friend who will also challenge you, who, when you are talking about a project or an idea, they will say, that's great, but you need to be thinking about this also. and consider your history. There are things you have done in your past that have shown that you have made mistakes along this way. You need to be thinking about those kinds of corrections. In real conversations, in real friendship relationships, there is a give and take. There is a seeking to be changed by each other. There is a knowledge of history and an ability to speak into somebody's life with credibility because you know their history. It's that kind of conversation that I'm talking about. I'm not talking about email conversations. I'm not talking about Facebook. I'm talking about face-to-face conversations. Now, this one here is among a group of Africans that was convened by an organization I founded called Africa Rising. Africa Rising is my attempt to create a new way of engaging with Africa and Africans. We find organizations throughout East Africa, in Tanzania, Kenya, and Uganda, organizations that are doing good work, have a bit of a track record, and are willing to work with others and to work with us. We tell them right off, we are not about raising money for you. Don't look to us for that. What we are going to do is we're going to bring you into contact with people who know things that you want to know. We're going to bring you into contact with people who have contacts that you want to have. We are going to create opportunities for conversation. Now, some of those conversations are between Africans. Some of them are between Africans and Americans. So notice this fellow here in the Carolina blue hat. He has that hat because we created a connection between the UNC Business School and the organization that he runs in Kenya. It's a community organization that is working with agriculture and water and developing of foods for sale. You'll see more about them in just a second. The UNC Business School team of 10 went there and spent days learning from them about what they are doing in agriculture, what they are doing about water, and also talking with them about business models. Have you considered trying this in your situation? So there was a conversation that occurred between UNC and between this fellow in Kenya. But now look beyond him. Now in this light you can't see it all that well, but this fellow here in the dark suit, his name is Joseph. Joseph is from Tanzania. Joseph is an agriculturalist who has one of the most active minds I have ever encountered. He learned about radio, built a radio station, and is broadcasting information and news to his whole region through radio. He tells a story of people who so much want to get what he is talking about that they would climb trees with receivers so that they could catch his signal. Joseph and Peter in the blue hat came together at this table here. This is our annual meeting, and decided that they needed to get together to share some of their knowledge. And what they were sharing knowledge about is in Peter's town, Kalisa, in Kenya, they were experiencing drought. With climate change, the snows on Mount Kenya are less and less, and there's less runoff. And Kalisa is a village that's on the downslope from Mount Kenya, so they're getting less of that water. But they had of their own figured out a way to build dams that go underground rather than up, and going underground, it captures the groundwater. So when the rains come and flow through this river, which doesn't look like a river right now, once the water subsides, they are able to dig down and find water. And with that water, they were able to start a nursery of mangoes. And they were then able to sell. They had mangoes beyond their needs. But the trouble is that with mangoes in season, everybody has mangoes. It's like zucchini here in the South. Once you've got zucchini, you try to give it to people and they won't take it. I've got 1 million of them, my own. So where's the market? Well, this is where Joseph came in. Joseph knew how to dry mangoes. And if you can dry mangoes, you can save them until the off season. And now people want to buy them. Now you can make a profit. So through this conversation, a new idea came about. Now, Allegra mentioned where good ideas come from, Stephen Johnson. Stephen Johnson talks in that book about where good ideas come from, about that ideas are networks. They are networks of synapses in your brain, but they are also networks of people who come together and share possibilities. This is an example here where people came together to share ideas and innovation occurred that was of benefit. It was a conversation. Now, few of you will go to Africa. Few of you will be wanting to practice some of the things I've talked about in terms of photography, in terms of money and charity in the African context. But what I've talked about here are lessons that also apply to our community here, to our local area. In the work that I've done in Africa, I came to feel that it wasn't fair, it wasn't right for me to reach over my own community all the way over to Africa and to build community there without also doing it here. I started there, but it was in starting there that I realized that I was reaching way over my own community nearby. So wanting to have some integrity in what I am doing and what I am preaching, I looked for an opportunity to build community here and built a relationship through my church, through Antioch Baptist Church on Holloway Street in Durham, and found a real kinship with their pastor, Reverend Page, and together he and I started an organization that works with ex-offenders, men who are released from prison. And the way that we work with them is to provide housing and to provide community for them that will walk with them to get them back on their feet and to get them reintegrated into community, to help them get their driver's license, to help them pay off bills. It's done through conversation. It's done through relationship. Here's an example. Here's a picture of, it's taken with a cell phone, so it's not a very good picture, but here we are praying over a piece of land that we had just purchased right next to Antioch Baptist Church, where we hope to build a house that will be a home for ex-offenders. We have another house that already has people in it, but this is the future one. And this comes about through conversation, through FaceTime, through overcoming the stereotypes of what we would consider to be the other, but to step outside that circle and not just with charity, but to spend time in conversation. Thank you.